In the early stages of the fourth quarter on Saturday, Williams-Brice Stadium was rocking. The loudness had hit its peak as the Gamecocks had a 8-point lead over number 4 Alabama after a 10-yard touchdown run by Lenora Sellers. And at that point in the game, it wasn't over yet, as we'll get into, but it felt like things were going South Carolina's way, as they were for most of the afternoon. The fans were starting to crowd to the hedges behind me, especially the one back there at the student section. It felt like it was going to be a magical night, especially 15 years after South Carolina had upset Alabama, who was then number 1 at the time, back in 2010, honoring the 2010 team today. It looked like it was heading that way until it wasn't. Alabama played a really strong fourth quarter down the stretch to come from behind and pick up a 29-22 win over the Gamecocks in Columbia on Saturday night. As Shane Beamer put it after the game, a gut-wrenching loss for his program in what's already been a very tough season to this point. It only gets even tougher with what you can definitely call the most heartbreaking loss of the season and potentially the most heartbreaking loss of the Beamer era, just because of how close the Gamecocks were to getting the job done. I mean, this was an overall really good performance for this team, coming off of what had happened last week in that 26-7 loss against Oklahoma. South Carolina's been in these scenarios before where they have a real bad loss. Everyone counts them out. Nobody's giving them a chance. There's not much faith in them moving forward, but that's where they're at their best. They come out the following week and play like a completely different team. We've seen it many times before. 2022, losing 38-6 to Florida, not scoring an offensive touchdown in that game. And then the next week they go out and score 63 points against Tennessee. Even last year, heading into the Alabama game, South Carolina lost 27-3 to Ole Miss. The following week, they're a massive underdog going to Tuscaloosa, and they take the Tide down to the wire, losing by 2 points that day in what would be the final loss of the regular season, as South Carolina would go on to win 6 straight games. And it felt like that tonight, where, I mean, I had South Carolina losing this game 42-13 in my staff picks predictions. And I thought I was going to be dead wrong, and Shane Beamer was going to come into post-game and kind of just silent all the naysayers that had doubted his program. But at the end of the day, like I said, South Carolina had an 8-point lead in the fourth quarter, wasn't able to hang on. And that's the most frustrating part for Beamer and the players and the fans, is that they played pretty well most of the game. But when it got down to crunch time, Alabama, who really did struggle here on the road today, I mean, make no mistake about it. I mean, this was a performance where they were not great, but they made the plays at the end of the game when it mattered most, when Jeremy Bernard caught a 4-yard touchdown pass to make it a 2-point game, and then Alabama runs a little bit of a trick play to tie the game on a 2-point conversion, and then Bernard scores again on what would be a 25-yard touchdown run, where Beamer did admit, because this was in the final minute of the game, there was like 40 seconds left at that point, and Alabama, which, by the way, made a critical play on defense where they forced Sellers to fumble on a strip play that gave Alabama the ball back inside the South Carolina 40-yard line. And then Bernard goes down and scores. And Beamer did say after the game that once Alabama had gotten that first down, he told the defense just to kind of let Alabama score the touchdown, so that way they weren't able to wind the clock all the way down, kick a field goal to win it, which I think some people are probably going to disagree with. But I get what he's saying. But at that point, South Carolina already burned all its timeouts, and you're asking your offense to go down and score a touchdown with minimal time left on the clock. I think it was under 30 seconds at that point. And look, the offense was better today. I think the play calling, everyone wants to criticize Mike Shula, but I think the play calling was far from the issue today. Play calling, my opinion, I need to rewatch the game and watch the tape on this, but I felt like the play calling on first glance was pretty good today. So I got no complaints there. But you're trusting your offense to have to go down 80 yards, no timeouts, minimal time left on the clock. I mean, that's a situation that is just not going to work, and it didn't in this case for the Gamecocks, as, again, did a lot of good, but a lot of good is good for 3 quarters, but when you're not able to finish it out, that's going to leave a real big sting. So the Gamecocks are now 3-5 on the year, 1-5 in SEC play. It's been tough, and you got 4 games left to go. You need 3 wins to get to bowl eligibility. I know people don't want to necessarily think about bowl eligibility at this point, but the fact of the matter is the Gamecocks are 3 wins away from getting to a bowl game, and you have to do it you got to get a win one of these next 2 games against a top 10 Ole Miss team who just won on the road at Oklahoma today, and then you get a bye week before going to Texas A&M, a place that you've never won since A&M joined the SEC back in 2012. And then after that you get Coastal Carolina and Clemson, which you should be Coastal, but Clemson's no guarantee. So this season is kind of getting away from the Gamecocks quick, and there's, today was a better performance, but again, it was not enough to win. So South Carolina, as I mentioned, will be back in action next weekend, Saturday, November 1st, to take on Ole Miss in Oxford at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. No official kick time announced on that game yet, but it will either be at 3:30, 7 o'clock, or 7:30 p.m. on either ESPN or ABC. We'll have more information on GamecockCentral.com once that time is officially announced. So once again, South Carolina suffers a heartbreaking 29-22 loss to number 4 Alabama here at Williams-Brice Stadium on Saturday. For GamecockCentral.com, I'm Jack Veltri.